Hi, this is my presentation for surveying service users with the YMCA Kinship Support Program. This program is the only support program for kinship caregivers who are relative caregivers of children involved with the child welfare services. Our case management services attempt to connect these caregivers with resources available throughout San Diego. And in addition, we also provide emergency funds, which is $500 per youth, support groups throughout the county, and a respite program which is only available for service users 55 or older, and there's a several months wait with that one. The old survey measured level of resolution regarding a variety of needs, and there's also some closed questioning regarding long-term stability. Um, my modifications that I made, in addition to the level of resolution, I also asked level of importance that the caregivers allocated regarding the variety of needs. And there's also questions regarding open-ended, open-ended questions regarding working relationships between the caseworker and caregivers, long-term stability, and outlook on social services in San Diego. Some more information about the survey. The needs, there are 17 needs, childcare, such as childcare, legal, basic services, guardianship, things of that nature. Um, the measurement tools for the level of resolution and level of importance had 3 degrees of severity, large, medium. Large, medium, or small. And finally, the open-ended questions, there is 2 for the working relationships and 1 for stabilization and social services in general. To provide you guys some context regarding the project, the YMCA Kinship Support Program was going through a fairly large expansion at the same time. Um, there was a doubling of the caseworkers, 2 additional programs were attached to it. So at the same time, my program manager revamped data collection, documentation of services, and all these things occurred by herself, like she was working on these things herself. And so my own project, this project, was only allocated to my own personal caseloads. Um, Generally, you could group my service users into 2 groups. I have a low need group who they only contact me when they need help with something, and I have a higher needs group where there's fairly constant contact. Um, I could talk to them, yeah, several hours per week or something like that. Or I visit them in their home, things of that nature. The delivery of this project, in the past, when I gathered surveys for clients, I went to their home. It was the end of services, and it was kind of a natural occurrence. For this particular survey, I sent them out electronically. So lo and behold, I only had one high need client who participated. The other promised to provide feedback, but she didn't have enough time. And all of my low need clients didn't respond. So the survey really allowed me to understand all of my participants' needs. Um, I didn't know all of them. Uh, the gap between resolution and importance, so for example, preschool and childcare, were completely not resolved, and they were very important to her. Um, the respite program and the support groups provided by the kinship support program um, had very low importance to the service user, and the survey also kind of spurred a lot of um, side conversation about future transitions. The first quote comes from an article called Questions and Challenges for Empowerment-Oriented Practitioners, and just talking about the need to make structures and institutions more empowering. And it really inspired it really resonated with this particular service user because not all of her needs could be satisfied. And in fact, she had a lot of desire to voice these concerns of her, and there weren't the structures and that would allow her to have a voice in place right now. The second quote comes from Kivel, and it just really talks about how the leaders of organizations, the decision makers in the county, they make decisions and they provide some support, but they it's really lacking the voice and it's really lacking the understanding of all the diverse needs that individuals do have. So moving on to how can we use this information? Um, so if the survey and use of um, kind of resolution versus importance for each particular need really exemplified the gaps currently in place in social services in San Diego. And it really inspired creative ways to rectify these problems. There's been stories of support groups helping each other out through mutual aid and financial support. And one potential idea to further this idea would be to utilize communication technologies to further connect these service users together. But this would be a temporary fix. Structural changes would be more impactful. Uh, Ways to utilize this information between the organization and service users would be it really allows service users to talk about areas not being addressed. Um, the second point is also it allows them to have a platform to talk about the relationship between the caseworker and themselves, something that wasn't addressed before. And with this particular client that I worked with, she mentioned that she hopes to continue work with the program. However, um, the intense working relationship that we had is not sustainable, and it's a reality that our program needs to address and kind of provide a solution for. And finally, because it really for the county, because it provides concrete data regarding like gaps in services, this can be useful. Partnering up with other major service providers to also to further support these claims and hopefully providing a bigger impact and a larger voice for the people. Um, so regarding the empowerment, yes, my service users had a lot of thoughts on the service and just social services in general. I mentioned some things about the program, her long-term needs, but also like the our working relationship was constant um, and dynamic, and the level of involvement is not typical. And she's very worried about in the future of not having the same level of attention. And finally, she also voiced a lot of desire to kind of be more involved in the social services industry. Um, she also talked about a lot of things that she was appreciative of. One example being her having one of the best Christmases ever, and it also gave her the platform to talk about needs that we weren't able to talk about in person. Finally, for myself, I learned that there's a lot of coordination that's required to have a successful data gathering. Um, the survey allowed discussion about things that aren't normally talked about in a normal working relationship, such as the relationship itself, discussion of larger structures. Um, and these discussions kind of allowed ideas to be thrown around and kind of really empowered her. She was really, really like invigorated. Um, and it also just kind of cemented the fact that our current structure needs more needs to fill in these gaps and also needs to provide the opportunities for empowerment practices. Um, so yeah, that's my presentation. Thank you very much.